And welcome back. Still working on getting the parts ready for the Tailcone section. I'm currently working on section 10 of the Impinage kit. And here I'm actually working on my labeling. I purchased a label printer that can both use regular tape labels, but also can label heat shrink. And if you don't have one, I would recommend these. Speaking with my grandfather-in-law who built an RV-4, that's one of his regrets, is that he did not label his wiring better when he was building his. Basically, he used masking tape, essentially. And now, 15, almost 20 years later, none of that labeling has survived. So it's hit or miss for him whether or not he knows which wire he's looking at sometimes. So I would highly recommend getting a label maker and at least using the regular tape labels. But if you can, get the heat shrink. I've used those as well on this project so far, and they work great. So yeah, here I was labeling the connector for the electric trim motor and getting that done finally. So here my older brother is driven out from California. He came out to surprise our dad for his birthday, and while he was out here, I figured I'd show him around the shop and kind of give him an idea of what I've been doing for the last several months. And went through and kind of showed him all the parts, everything that I've done to this point, and just kind of showing off a little bit. It's always fun to show others and share with others what you've been working on and what you're up to, and kind of expose others to your hobby, I guess. And so it was fun to have him out and show him what I've been doing. He lives out in Riverside, California, and it's about a 4 or 5, maybe 6 hour drive, depending on traffic. I've had the chance to fly my Cherokee over there, and it's about an hour and a half to fly over there, so that's why I prefer flying. So anyway, yeah, I'm pulling out all the pieces and showing them the what I've done so far and the techniques that are used and just what goes into building an airplane. And now I'm getting down the rudder and kind of show them what it'll look like and all the stuff that I'd gone through so far with the different parts and pieces here. And one thing I need to do is find a good storage for all of my parts. So far I'm just kind of keeping them up on shelves and not really all that protected. So eventually I'm going to be building some mounting brackets, for lack of a better term, in my living room. I'm going to mount everything on the wall as kind of display pieces as I'm building. And once the Tailcone is complete, I'll put that in the front room, and it'll be a nice talking point for anybody that comes over and visits. So that'll be fun. So now I'm I've finally installed the bench vise onto the work table there. And so I've got the metal brackets, the thick aluminum metal brackets that I discussed in the last video. They come out of the process, the punch process, and they're a little bit bowed, so you have to straighten them back out. And the way it tells you to do is put it into a vise, clamp it down, and apply a little bit of preload pressure on it and hit it with a mallet. And it works pretty well. You just got to be careful not to overdo it, and just kind of keep measuring it, hit it once, put it back on a flat surface and see where you're at, and then go from there. It's a lot of back and forth work, as you can see here, and just kind of looking down to see how straight it has become. And then another thing you can do is just, measure them against each other and see how flat they are in reference to each other as well. I don't think that they need to be, iron board flat, but you want to get them relatively straight so that you can mount the horizontal stabilizer correctly. And so you go through that process for both of the pieces. I think I used the instructions, I believe, give you, I want to say, is a couple 16ths of an inch gap or leeway, and so that's what I'm using the ruler for, just to verify that there's not more than a couple 16ths bend at any point. So once you get that all straightened out, then the instructions, I believe, have you start working on making some of the bulkhead brackets, and finally starting to make pieces that'll go into the tail cone. So that's what I'm working on here, is the second to the most aft bulkhead, and this is the aft, I believe this is the aft bulkhead for the horizontal stabilizer. It has two pieces that stick up that'll bolt to the stabilizer, and then your standard things for all pieces, your typical deburring, go through and make sure all the sharp edges are no longer sharp. And then once you get these all set together and primed, you'll rivet them together and set them aside and work on the next bulkhead. And that's where the rest of this goes for next few pages in the instructions. It's basically getting all the bulkheads ready and getting everything in line for when you're ready to start working on the actual tail cone itself. Now this part is the bulkhead attachment for the vertical stabilizer. It's two pieces again that are prepared and then riveted back to back and mounted onto the tail cone, and then at some point, when I believe it's the next section where you attach all of the empennage parts together, the part of the vertical stabilizer that sticks down is what will attach to that and bolt in place to this piece here. Now this one I actually messed up. It was a mixture of both not fully looking at the instructions and not reading ahead, and then also the instructions, when I did look at them, weren't exactly clear on the step that I messed up. But when you put this together, I am doing the nose wheel version, the 14 Alpha, so I don't have the tail wheel on this, and I'm at the point here where you finally make that decision which way you want to go. And like I said, I decided I'm going to have a nose wheel. And so in place of the nose wheel portions here, you have the rear tie down. And when I put this together, I drilled everything to the vertical stabilizer correctly. And when I go to drill out the bracket that holds the tie down ring, I kind of messed that up. So after looking at everything, I ended up ordering all new parts, and I also went ahead and ordered these two pieces here as well, because I drilled those incorrectly, and so it's just a matter of paying attention to the instructions, and you'll see at the end of the video here. But anyway, so yeah, the process is the same. I don't think that I recorded the replacement parts when I put those together. I just did them, so it's the same process as what I'm doing here. But anyway, you just go through and match drill everything to the vertical stabilizer, so that way when it's ready to be mounted, everything's matched up, lined up, and you're ready to go. And this is where I screw up the bracket itself. I believe there's 8 holes on this bracket, and you're supposed to drill 4 of them, and I drilled the wrong 4. And it's not something that I could recover from, because the 4 that I drilled were meant to be the pieces that actually assembled it and held it to the frame. So I oversized them, so I obviously can't rivet them. So like I said, ordered a whole new set and just redid it, and kind of annoyed with myself. It's easy to get into, especially when you're kind of sidetracked or focusing on something different, and then you realize, oh no, I just messed this up. So live and learn. Anyway, I'm gonna let that cut off here, and I appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you next time.